Hello everyone, and welcome to our second race of our 1966 season, and it happens to be the second round of the British Sportscar Championship at Oulton Park for the Gold Cup. So let's see how we get on.
The cars are ready for the start of the Gold Cup here at Oulton Park, and the flag is waved. Everyone makes a clean start for the second round of the BSCC. First corner. Denny Hildum is ahead of David Hobbs in his Lola. Down the hill they come, which really shows how undulating the circuit is for the drivers.
Here we are once again in our Ford GT, lent kindly by Mr. Sutcliffe himself, for the second round of the British Sports Car Championship after our pretty successful first race at Snetterton, where we became second in class as we're a bit stuck on the other Ford GT behind us as we make our way down the long straight with what I've found out several horrible bumps that we have to last 25 laps. Another one here, just in the braking zone. The AI cars seem to be able to brake on it. I have to brake just before it. Otherwise I do end up going straight on with all four wheels locked. So we'll see how we get on. And again, just all these bumps catching us out. We're on cold tyres, cold brakes, nothing's up to temperature yet. We lost a few places to our fellow Mark 1 GT40s. And just for a reminder, we've split into the Group 7 cars, which are of course what would become the Can-Am cars. So you've got the Lola T17s, you've got McLaren Elvas in there, Lotus 30s, Lotus 40s, lightweight aluminium chassis cars. And then the class that we're in, we've grouped together the Group 6 and Group 4 cars. So the Group 6 are the new Ferrari P2 cars, which we haven't officially set as our rival, but we know what happens in 66, so I think they are our natural nemesis, as well as we want to be the best Ford GT40, so naturally we want to finish ahead of our, not so much teammates, but comrades. Is that just a different word for the same thing? Right, can we get a breaking point right this time? Sparks flying out from the car in front. Well, it's either Nick Cousins or Richard Atwood or Eric Liddell. I can't remember what paint scheme now. I know there are two red ones. So I've got 45 on the side. Eric Liddell, I think he finished just behind us last race in third, so I didn't want to stick with him. And of course, David Piper, Nick Cousins won it last race. That was it for our class. And you may have noticed at the start there was the Jaguar XJ13, which didn't really have an appearance during the 1966 season, which is a shame. Just one of those cars that never came to be. I think eventually it had some sort of accident and it was completely written off. But because this is sim racing, we can include it into our 66 season, so it will be in our class for the remainder of the British Sports Car Championship the next How many races are there? 5 or 6 races remaining, as well as the ultimate goal for every sports car manufacturer was to race at Le Mans. So hopefully if all goes well, as there's a McLaren off there, and Liddell going incredibly slow, so we'll take that over the top of that crest. Get it stopped just in time. Yes, if it all goes well for the Jaguar team, then hopefully we'll see more of them, perhaps even in the World Sports Car Championship. I think we'll just worry about how we're going to do, as we've got both of the Fords behind us. We're still just in reaching distance of the cars ahead. I think I'm not quite as up to speed as the other cars. Again, there's another, it looked like a Lola, I think, off. So a couple of much faster cars we've gained positions on, so maybe they'll come back through later on in the race. But from what I've seen in practice and qualifying for this, certainly the Ferraris have the edge on a much more technical circuit. Certainly this isn't favouring much of the handling, better handling cars are a bit quicker than what we were at Snetterton, where it was mostly a couple of straights put together as there's a bit of a crash behind us. I think one of the McLarens that was off previously, I think one of the other fours went wide and properly smashed it. So we were quite deep, but actually turns out to be quite a good line through its sequences of corners. When you put a lap together at Oulton Park, it is one of the best feelings, especially on this 60s layout. With all these massive jumps, whether they were these huge jumps or not. Certainly over time they smoothed them all out for safety, but even these ones in these cars, it's when you start a lap and you come down sort of these sweeping S's again, the car goes just light enough, you don't quite, the tyre doesn't quite lift off the circuit, but you're at 0G for a little bit. And you've got this sort of slightly banked left-hander into then this incredibly banked right-hander. It sort of levels off as you on exit. And if you line this one up just right, you can just feed it through at full throttle, and then just be really careful, keep the car nice and straight. And then I need to brake quite early just so I don't lock up. That's probably the best I've taken that corner. Then up over the crest. Again, you can just let the car drift out wide. I like to bring it back left and keep it on the right now, even though it's probably a bit of a tighter line than ideal, but it just feels just a bit safer, I think. We're not going to run wide. Again, I brake a little bit earlier than the AI, although I did lock up there a little bit. It turned in nicely, and then it's full throttle over this little jump to the top of the crest, and then there's a completed lap of a very undulating and technical circuit. So I'm caught back up with the Jag again. I'm on the Ferrari 250 LMs, and there's David Piper there. Again, because that was a little bit wrong, We'll send us a bit wide. That brings the Ford behind us back in again. I've got 25 laps of this. I don't think it's supposed to rain. It is looking like a quintessential English cloudy sky, which looks like it could do anything at this point. I don't think I've scheduled it for rain. I'm using the new PP filter. It does look incredible. Yes, this is all good practice for what we want to aim for, which is the World Sportscar Championship, which we've already locked in Daytona 24 Hours, which will be our next race after this one. So we managed to fit 2 races in before one of the biggest races of the year, and then after that we will see through the British Sportscar Championship, which will be, as we get down the inside of the Jag, although it will become the outside as we get to the start-finish straight. Oh wow, it's much later on the brakes than we are. Again, I just don't quite have the same confidence as the AI does with our anti-lock brakes. But I think my race pace is pretty good, as long as I don't make... As long as I get into a rhythm, it's fine. But every now and again, I'll do something silly, and then... yeah, so our remaining schedule is that of... we've got a car, and I've done what they teach you. Well, I say teach you. No one's taught me anything, clearly. What they say is we get a massive run here on the Dell. Which you don't look at the object you want to avoid, you want to look where you want to go to avoid whatever it is. As it comes back for the cutback, and so do we. We get, again, a much better run up the hill. So yeah, so I just fixated on that car that was off, jumped on the brakes. Of course, then you lock up and go straight into the car that you're looking at to avoid, rather than if I just ignored it. It was off the circuit. It might have been looking like we're heading towards it, but it was no, I wasn't going to hit it if I just did everything normal. Yes, as I was saying, the schedule. So we've done Snedstone, done Oulton Park, we've got Daytona next, and then for the remainder of the British Sportscar Championship, it's rain at Silverstone, Crystal Palace, we're back to Silverstone again, and then it's the Tourist Trophy at Goodwood, followed by the Guard Trophy at Brands Hatch. And then after that, we're pretty much into the World Sportscar Championship, so we'll be jumping around here and there. I think it'll probably be Sebring next. We'll be back in we'll be back stateside again for some more sports car racing, and perhaps some other racing in the States at that time that came around in 1966. Who knows? But predominantly sports car racing, a bit of touring car racing, or GT car racing. Whatever we can get our hands on, really. We're sort of playing this like a career mode, but sort of quite relaxed. Although with our second place so far, we've got nothing to worry about. Ideally, a similar result, I think, would be quite good. We've already proved that we can do it. It might be a lot harder on this technical circuit. Obviously, with Silverstone, which again, it's similar characteristics to Snetterton being based on the airport, so there's quite a few long straights. Nothing really too difficult about Silverstone. Crystal Palace is, again, going to be more like Oulton Park. We might struggle there. It's quite undulaty, quite narrow. Should be a lot of fun, like this one is. But yeah, we might not do so well at that one again. And then we're back to Silverstone again. Where hopefully we should do well. Goodwood again, it's sort of it's a mixture of both really. It is quite a fast circuit, but it is also quite technical. A little bit undulation, but I don't think anything to worry about too much. And then Brands Hatch is sort of its own entity really. So anything could go with that one. Of course it's the final. So that should be a good one. Right, we've definitely settled into rhythm now. Jack's got past the Ferrari in front, so it was 250 to get past. Who would that be? I think that might be Alan Rees, I think, is Ferrari. And of course then you've got the Dino as well, the 206 Dino running around. I think that qualified pretty well actually. Oh, we've got another McLaren off there. So we're picking up places for the overall finish, but ideally we want to make headway in our own class as we get a bit of a bump and run in sports cars. I mean, if this was British touring cars at Oulton Park, I'd understand, but not in our GT40s. Well, it certainly set us back a little bit, hasn't it? I wonder who that was then. Was that Nadal? Is he still behind us? I should really look at the pit boards as they come up. Oh, we've taken that quite nicely. Just clip the inside there on the grass. Build the revs up all the way up to 7,000. Bring it down a gear just to get the car turned in. Let's see who it was then. Who's our... That is Nick Cousins. He's really wanting to make some headway then, because I haven't really seen him this race, and suddenly he's tried to pump me off into somewhere in Oulton Park. Well, as the Ferrari's gone wide, hopefully that should hold him up a bit. Yeah, the more I race this car, you do really get to understand how it wants to be driven. I feel like I could probably drive it a bit harder, but I just don't want to risk doing something silly like spinning out as we get a huge run. Now, was that the 250 LM? Was that? Was that 330p? Again, I have to wait until the pit board comes out again, see who it is. But we're right on the back of Nick Customs now. Again, we've got a massive run on him. Not quite enough to chuck it down the inside. Again, I just don't want to lock a brake and fire it into some shrubbery. Right, let's see who it was. Oh, it's Mike Parks. Yeah, that is the Dino 206. Yeah, so he was doing really well. We're P12 at the moment overall. I think it's David Piper ahead, isn't he? So I think we must be about third then. I reckon. Is this the battle for third? Was that another GT40 in front? That light blue one. That would be Atwood. So fourth or fifth then. Something like that. Just outside the podium. And again, we get a good run. Oh, a bit sideways. A bit. It's not really an overtaker, plays down into our brakes. A massive shower of sparks once again. I don't know how these cars are going to survive. They absolutely battered. Again, I need to try and find decent research into if there was actually jumping. He's locked up. He's got a bit wide and got a chevron in the way, but that's helped us. Yep, he's blocked the others behind us, so that's good. Not quite enough though. We've got blue flags now. Just what we need. Some of the faster loaders coming through already. I feel like we only just started this race. Yeah, so lap 13. So we're probably going to get laps, not quite do 25 laps. But over halfway now, so it's taken them half the race to lap us. I don't know who the orange one was, wasn't it? But again, they're able to shoot on. Again, they're much lighter cars. By a good, like, a couple 100 kilos. And then they've got about 100 more horsepower than we do, so it's only natural that they are somewhat faster. However, more tailored for sprint format, whereas obviously our cars are tailored for more endurance. As he goes off the way just about. Oh, I think it was the 45 there that flashed up. And that was David Hobbs and his T72. So he's running in second. I don't know who was the bright orange loader. He finally gets past. So yeah, so those cars wouldn't last a much longer race than this. I need to again look up how long the Can-Am races were really compared to the British Sportscar Championship, because they would run 2 lots of 25 race heat, so you'd have heat 1 and heat 2, and they would both be 25 laps apiece. Who's that? Is that number? Was that number 1 on the side? Was that Denny Hulme? Yeah, just a comparison between when these cars raced here. And I'm not entirely sure where those Group 7 cars race as well. What other series there are? So there are sports cars. Well, they did it weirdly, didn't they? Because you had the World Sports Car Championship, and you had the over 2 litre capacity and under 2 litre capacity. And then also you had the race for the manufacturers, which was then, was it S1, S2, S3? And the Ford GT Mark IIs were in the P category of over 2 litres, but the Mark 1 GT40s were in the manufacturer division of S3, which was over 3 litres capacity. But then the 250 LMs were in the prototype category, being over 2 litres. But in this, they're in our category because we're both Group 4 cars. So essentially, to the British sports car race, we are a sports car, and also that's how the World Sports Car Championship sees us, as a sports car. But from the 250 LM, the World Sports Car Championship sees it as a prototype, whereas here it's just categorised by what group it's in, rather than it. They haven't quite worked out what. Either go by, yeah, what category it's in, or what it looks like. It's I say it's strange. I was going to say it's strange, no, it's not. It's just meant you had way more variety in such an eclectic mix of vehicles at any race meeting you went to. I mean, I didn't really know that the British Sports Car Championship was a thing. I mean, I don't think it was technically a championship because they were all non-championship races. Well, thanks to the traffic, we've come up right behind, I'm assuming, the front 2 runners of the Ford GT of Richard Atwood and the Ferrari 365 of David Piper. As they now begin to fight themselves, and we've closed right up to them now. I think David Piper takes the lead of our class. Well, Richard Atwood's not going to give it up lightly. It's a side-by-side for the first corner, but David's got the inside, and I think Richard's got to let it go. So we're going to get all crossed up there, trying to catch back up again. Whether our tyres are starting to expire. He made a mistake there. Can we capitalise? We're going to send it down the inside. That wasn't really a... the move, but we're going to hold it around the outside. Thanks to the banking. He's still there. Okay, we'll try and hold it around the outside of here. Are we going to be brave enough? No, the car's a little bit unsettled. We're going to have to let him go. A little bit wide through there. We've got some more that traffic coming through. It's only ebbs and flows, this race, isn't it? We're miles back and then we're suddenly right back in it, and then there goes one of the other Lolas. Was that Tony Sargent? It looked like the number 31 on the side. And again, because he went past, we've dropped back a little bit. Nick Cousins at a nice distance behind us. Oh goodness, and everyone's stopped to... That's the 250LM's come out. Not the pits, is it? It's got his hazards on or something. Something's not right. He's stopped in the worst place possible. Somehow he didn't have an almighty accident launching us out of Oulton Park itself, off the back of Atwood's Ford GTs. We're just putting it into all the wrong gears. I've never put it into first going around there. That's why I've started now, I don't know. It's the last place I want one of those loaders to pass me, but I'm feeling he is, and we're just going to have to go wide as we locked up. And Atwood's back through again. We're down to third again in the remaining few laps of this race, which has been really good fun. Really having to work for this one. Again, we're going to close up a little bit. All have us on the brakes here. So you can see there just how much air you get. Sort of jumping on top of the crest of that, that corner. I'm surprised the suspension lasts. Or is that one of the Jag? Oh, she must have been first or something then. Ah, it's so unlucky. Because we've got 7 laps left. Ah, that's a shame for whoever's driving the Jag. I think it's Norman Dewis. He was, I think he raced in a few Jags back in the day, in the 60s. Oh, that is such a shame. That would have been such a great result to first on debut, especially at a tricky circuit like this. Right, well, Atwood's disappeared up the road again. You can see a flash of red behind me, so that must be Nick Cousins again. See if we can get this corner right. Lovely bit of four-wheel drift, right up to the grass. See, when you get it right in this car, it's perfect. But dip a wheel into the grass, or you lock one of your wheels, you're off and you're out, and that is it. We've got some lap traffic here, I think. That's going to help us out. That's I think it's one of the Lotus 23s of Mike Garson. And he slowed outward right up. Not quite there for the overtake. Always had a bit of a twitch on the exit. This is not really the place I want to overtake him down through the S's. He's being held up. We're gonna nearly go to the back of him. And we're just gonna sandwich him behind him. The Lotus. He's still there. Right, we made the move. We are now up to, unless there's any other cars I've missed out, second. I think that's it. We've passed the Dino. We've seen the 250LM nearly cause a huge accident. We had Nick Cousins behind us and Eric Liddell behind him. That's Atwood behind us. There is another Ferrari, but I haven't really seen that, since I'm trying to remember who's in this race. And I'm making all sorts of mistakes, which is usually what I do right at the end of the race. So we must be close to the end of the race if I'm gonna make some sort of silly mistake and cost me a few places. Who else is in that class? We've got a Porsche 906 as well, but they're sort of not really. They're under 2 litres, so okay. With P10, so I reckon with a couple of Group 7 cars go off and haven't come back through yet, I don't think. Yeah, another second place would be very good, and it will set us up very nicely for the big one, the Daytona 24, which I'm very much looking forward to. Obviously, we're not looking to win it. We're going to be in not this GT40, but another Mark 1 GT40 by, is it Ford Advanced Vehicles? And it's Bob Grossman we'll be teaming up with, along with Peter Sutcliffe. So we'll have a three-driver car. Normally you'd have 2 drivers and just swap alternating stints. But yes, and then I'm going to have to entrust the AI to do a couple of stints for me, which will be interesting to see how that goes. Because you can press Control C, and then obviously the car will have an AI driver in it, and off he goes. And that's how I plan to do that. You go a bit wide, but it has that Lotus Go. Is that Lotus? I think it's a Lotus 30. So sort of one of the slower cars of the faster group. So yeah, so Daytona, it'll be interesting to see, because we know we can beat the 365s, the B2s. There'll be a couple there. Obviously not really going to be a match for the Mark II GT40s or the Chaparral either. But if we keep it clean and out of trouble, like a top 10 would be ideal, I think. Oh, so we've got one of the Ford GTs off there. I'm not sure which one that was, one of the red ones. It's either Nick Cousins or Liddell. I haven't seen Liddell for a while. The sky definitely looks like it's getting darker. No, we've got 3 laps remaining, but they have lapped us once already, so it's sort of 2 laps remaining. Now we've got a McLaren behind us, but there's no blue flag, so that must have been one of the ones from earlier. Well, he's just absolutely had us around the outside, like we had become stationary. Then off he goes. Now I think those McLarens had Oldsmobile engines in them, but I think they also had some Chevy and some Ford ones. And I hadn't really mentioned it. I mentioned it in the first video, but we're sort of focusing on Ford's 1966 season, because we all know that they did eventually win Le Mans in style and without controversy. Perhaps not that last one, but obviously we all know the story. But I think that sort of Le Mans was just the tip of the iceberg, and that sort of the whole rest of the season, as well as other series that aren't really covered, but Ford had pretty much dominated that year in various forms, in cars they made themselves, in cars that had their engines put in them, like the Lolas. Some of them had Ford, some of them had Chevy engines. And again, then also you've got the Mustang and the Cortinas that would dominate touring cars and saloon car racing. So there's all that to look forward to in this 66 season, as much as it is mainly focused on Sportscar and the World Sportscar Championship. I am looking to go and do as much as possible, and sort of roughly in the time frame in which it happened. Apart from obviously this British Sports Car Championship, because that sort of stretched across a normal racing season, you know, from March to like September. Whereas we want to squash it all in at the start of the season, just so then we get a bit of practice before Daytona, and then a bit more practice before then we move on to our World Sports Car Championship season later on this year. Which will be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Although I am, not gonna lie, running drastically behind schedule on videos and editing. But that is, I think that's just me, so that's fine. Right, we've got a Lotus, I think, right behind us. We've got blue flag, so I'm going to assume that is for him and not one behind him. A red Lotus. So that'd be John Nicholson or Frank Gardner, I think. That is the end of the race, and oh, say David Piper ran up ahead, but first the Group 7. Denny Hulme takes the win. Tony Sargent in second, Graham Hill in third, John Surtees fourth, David Hobbs in fifth. And yes, David Piper ran away with it in the end. We got another second place. Atwood was behind us, Mike Parks and Alan Rees in the Ferraris. A very good result for them. Like I said, the Ferraris are much better suited to a technical circuit than we are. And there we go, now they are the points. So we are currently level with David Piper So that certainly makes this championship interesting. And as you can see there, we have Silverstone coming up, but before that, the Daytona 24 Hours. So hopefully I'll see you then for that one. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.